Good morning, Year 10. Hope you are well. This is the first time I have done a video lesson for Sports Ed. Before we start the lesson, I just need to go through a few key points. If there is a pause icon on a slide, once I have explained the task, I will ask you to pause the recording and complete the task. The structure of the lesson is very similar to what we would do in class. For example, there's going to be a recall activity, progress check, etc. Obviously, when you're completing these tasks, I would like you to do them without your notes. You will notice there is a pause icon on this first slide. Before starting the lesson, you need to make sure you have opened the worksheet, which is in the Google Classroom. So can you now pause the video and open the student worksheet that's called Role-Related Responsibilities, and then come back to this recording. Thank you. Right, hopefully you've all got the worksheet up ready to go alongside the PowerPoint. So the first task, please, is I'd like you to do a recall activity. Just remembering which colour group you're in, please. Can you complete the one that's aimed at yourself? And I would like you to pause the video and fill this in on the worksheet where there is a box to put it in. Right, hopefully we've all managed to do the recall task. So let's go through it. The 6 different types of leaders are PE teacher, coach, captain, manager, role model, and expedition leader. Obviously, we will have all described different ones of those leaders. So I'm just going to give you a model answer for a manager so that you can check your answer again. So the main roles of a manager would be they would be very knowledgeable on their sport, for example, skills and tactics. They would pick the team and choose the captain. They would make sure that everyone in the team knows their specific roles. They would organise contracts for players. They would sign new players and they would appoint coaches. For those of you that are doing the blue and the yellow box, obviously we need to give some examples. So a good example would be the Manchester City manager, Pep Guardiola. He came to Manchester City and completely overhauled the team. He brought in new players and coaches. He won the Premier League 2 years in a row, and he was the first team to win domestic treble in England. Today's session. So the objectives for the level 1 is to be able to identify the role-related responsibilities of a sports leader. For level 2 pass will be to describe the role-related responsibilities, and the level 2 merit to distinction will be to explain those role-related responsibilities and to be able to give good sporting examples. Obviously, after this lesson, we will be ready to complete assignment task 3, which looks at the role-related responsibilities of a sports leader. Before we go any further, though, I think it's important that we go through the key vocabulary of responsibility. So a good sentence it could be in is that a true leader takes responsibility for their team and helps them achieve goals. The definition then would be to be in a position of authority over someone and to have a duty to make certain that particular things are done. If we were going to deconstruct, we would go to responsible, and some other words we might use are control, authority, duty, influence, leadership, or management. Right, what I'd like you to do now is pause the video and complete tasks 1 and 2 on the worksheet, please. Right, now we've unlocked the key word, I'd like you to do task 3 on the worksheet, which is what responsibilities can you think of that a sports leader would have? And I've given you 2 minutes to write those down on your worksheet, please. And you'll notice the pause icons there, so please stop the video for 2 minutes. Right, the responsibilities that we should have are we should have knowledge of activity, knowledge of child protection, knowledge of first aid, enthusiasm for activities, and knowledge of safety. Hopefully, some of your answers linked to those key 5 ones. Those are the 5 that we are going to focus on in our assignment task when we write it up. So we need to make sure we know about those. Okay, without looking on our notes now, I think it's time to have a progress check. So can we pause the video, please, and fill in the progress check 1 box in your worksheet, please. Right, hoping we didn't find that progress check too difficult. So what is a responsibility? We should have to be in a position of authority over someone and to have a duty to make certain that particular things are done. And the 5 key role-related responsibilities are knowledge of safety, of the activity, of child protection, of first aid, and for enthusiasm for the activity. You'll notice the pause icon is there, so could you pause the video, please, and make sure you've checked what you've wrote in the progress check, and anything you've missed out, can you amend in your red font? Right, we're ready now to move on to task 4. So first of all, on task 4, in the left-hand column, you need to write down those 5 key responsibilities that we've discussed so far in the lesson into that left-hand column. You'll then need to sort out the information that's in the boxes into the correct responsibility. Before we do that, though, I think it's important that I just touch on what a DBS is, as for some of you, it's probably a word that we've not come across before. So a DBS is carried out by a department in the government called Disclosure and Barring Service, and it checks that people are safe to be employed and work with children and vulnerable groups. It checks the police national computer database to check that people don't have any criminal records that would affect their ability to work with children and vulnerable groups. So, for example, a coach who works with children would require a DBS if they are to coach those children, so that we know that they're safe. So now we know what a DBS is, we should be okay with the rest of the terms. Can you pause the video for me, please, and complete task 4? Hopefully we didn't find that too difficult. So our next job is to just check that we've got them all under the correct key responsibility. So I'd like you to pause the video and check your answers against the answers on this slide. And again, if you need to amend them in the red pen. Right, it's time to have another progress check. So can you pause the video, please, and answer the 2 questions in the box that says progress check 2 on your worksheet. Right, let's just check that progress check then, please. So the 5 key role-related responsibilities we should have: knowledge of safety, knowledge of activity, knowledge of child protection, knowledge of first aid, and enthusiasm for activity. And then the second task, you had to describe the key responsibilities for knowledge of activity. So you should have something along the lines of: a sports leader needs to have a good knowledge of the sport they're leading and its rules, and they need to be able to plan a session which includes the key components, such as a warm-up, a skills practice, and a condition game. Right, we should all now have the information that we need to complete assignment task 3. So first of all, I'd like you to read the sample assignments once I've finished talking. They're on slides 14 and 15. I've also included a copy of those in your Google Classroom for you to have reference to. You will need to write up your own work describing the 5 key responsibilities on the assessment sheet, which is also in your Google Classroom, and the deadline for that is going to be Friday the 12th, that's this week, at 4 o'clock. Before you do that though, and you start your assignment, I've put a box at the bottom of the worksheet for you to give me any feedback or thoughts on how this video lesson has gone. I would really value some feedback to see what's worked and what could maybe be improved further. So if you could do that first and return the assessment sheet through the Google Classroom, and then you can get on with this assignment task 3. Good luck, and I'll look forward to receiving your work on Friday at 4 p.m.